Hello, welcome back. Okay, so we're still in the statistics unit, but we're going to talk about histograms today. We're talking about representing data graphically because it's super handy to have things represented graphically. It's kind of like the whole a picture says 1,000 words. A graph is way easier to understand than, or a graph or a plot of any kind. Some kind of a graphic is easier to understand than just a whole table full of numbers because, if you're just looking at numbers and you're just staring at numbers, you don't necessarily see the trends, you don't necessarily see the patterns. So it's easier to put it in some visual form. Okay, so these are bar graphs. You've seen them before. So this one is internet usage, and it's by gender, and it's by year. So it starts at 95, it's 95, 96, 97, blah, blah, blah. They probably weren't using a lot of internet in 95 because it wasn't really a thing too much. Don't ask me how I know that. That's an automatic F. But anyway, so you notice that it goes up, obviously, because now in 2002, the internet is actually a thing. Yeah. Okay. Each one of these is 1 year, and each one of these has a corresponding Y. So like you have your years are on your x-axis, right? So we're looking at it over time, and each one of these has a specific number. So this might be 105. This might be 180. But you could take these and you could put it on a normal XY graph like we normally put because you have an exact number and it corresponds to an exact year. So this 1 year goes with that one value and we're good. That's a bar graph. Those are handy. We've seen them all over the place. What we want to look at is a histogram. So a histogram is slightly different. It looks a lot like a bar graph, but it's not. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, this is a histogram. Looks like a bar graph, right? You're all like, you lied, you said it's not the same. It's not the same. Okay, so a histogram is a little bit different. It looks like a bar graph, but instead of being one thing on this x-axis, it's kind of a range of things. So like this one, I'm not sure what it represents because it's not telling me, but this first bar goes from 0 to 10. The next bar goes from 11 to 20. The next bar goes from 21 to 30. So you're basically counting up, and so each of these has a Y value, but it's not just corresponding to one single X. You're grouping things. This becomes handy if you're doing stuff like, let's say you surveyed in class and you ask how many people or how many text messages people send in a day. Well, you're going to get a ton of answers, right? So like you might get a bunch of people that send from 20 to 30 a day. You might get a few that send 0 to 10. You might get a whole bunch that send like 60 to 80 a day. So rather than take every single little, like especially if we've surveyed a lot of people, rather than take and mark each little time somebody got an 80, it's easier to clump them in these groups and put it as a histogram. So the way we create these, we can do it by hand, but we're also going to do it on Google Sheets because it'll do it for us. The way you do it is you take your data that you have and you put it into groups. So like what I usually do is I sort everything first because then I have everything in order. So you might take your 0 to 10, you might take your 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and you kind of separate them out. And then you just count them up and then you draw the corresponding line. So if there were, in this case, from 21 to 30, there were 8 of those. So I just draw this bar up to 8. From 31 to 40, there were 6. So they draw the bar up to 6. So it looks like a bar graph, right? But these are representing groups. So within this group, so 41 to 50 had 12, but you could have like 42, you could have 47, you could have whatever. It's all of these together. There are 12 of them in this group of 41 to 50. So yeah, that's a histogram. So that's kind of your introduction. In the next video, we're going to create one.